Circuit de la Sarthe in Le Mans, France. It is live on RCI TV. Our first LMU endurance on the channel. 500 kilometers, or today, what the heck even is a kilometer? It's July 4th. It's the 310 miles of Le Mans. Here we go. 13.8 not kilometers. I don't even know why it's showing that, of course. We don't do those around here. It's 8.4 miles around Circuit de la Sarthe. It's hot, it's dry, and it's going to be a crazy 2 hours. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Jesse Lee, joined by Jack Mays, and a happy 4th of July to everyone out there. It is going to be a hot one today on the racetrack and off of the racetrack. Qualifying just about wrapping up. Final few cars out there on their final laps. Jack, welcome in. Happy 4th of July, buddy. Happy 250-year anniversary.
Yes, sir, my good man. It's good to be here. I'm very excited also to take the reins for my first official RCI broadcast. So it's a big deal for me personally, big deal for the nation, Jesse Lee. But it's going to be an absolutely great event. Le Mans is a circuit that needs no introduction. The Circuit de la Sarthe, of course, we're a few weeks off of the 24 hours of Le Mans. That was an absolute stunner of a race, and we're sure to get a bit of that magic here tonight. Qualifying has just about concluded. I believe Milan van der Vecken is the very last car on circuit, blessing us with all of the sounds. That glorious V12. He's going to finish his lap. Well, just about finish his lap and ultimately pull over and end himself into qualifying. Jesse Lee, a lot of cars to get through. I'm sure you're going to try to rapid fire this as best as you can. And let's get it moving.
Here we have the results of qualifying for the 310 miles of Le Mans. Justin Clay currently quickest and will start out front for the hypercar class. 2 seconds behind him is Benjamin George, Van Driesche, Mazza in the next row, Van der Voken and Urso in the next. Octane Daly, Ted Edwards, and Chloe LeBrun are your top 10. Behind them, it's Derringer, Barber, Krexke, Nyring, and matter of fact, we're getting into the hypercar. Adams, Krexke over Klaus Nyring in the LMP2 category on the front row. Minderu, Huel the next row. Eric Gill, Yo, and Redford. Moving on to GT3, LMGT3. Carlos Caladian on pole over Rufo, Lilith, Caleb in the next row, Imo Plata, Akita, Marvin, Lucas, Fabian, and Ratsathong. So many cars, 30. Do we have another page? Is that it? Is it 30? I think it might just be. 3 different categories on cards for you today. Just about 10 cars or more in each category, and this is how they're going to line up. Drivers and teams doing their final preparations, Jack, and something you noticed, and you're showing it right here. I have no idea how you read my mind. I want to talk about tires. So many drivers took tires, softs, in the qualifying session. They've only got 2 full sets of tires today, 8 in total, not 8 sets, 8 tires full stop. And whatever you've done damage-wise to those tires in qualifying is going to be held over in the race. So they're going to likely run those dry tires in the race, I would reckon. I don't know if sauce was the right idea.
That's what we were talking about. And I think, Le Mans is known for its lack of tire wear. You can triple, you can actually quadruple stint tires if you're feeling really economical. And taking softs, yes, you might get a really good qualifying time, but I feel like you might be shooting yourself in the foot just a little bit starting on a softer compound. Yes, you maybe can make 2 stints out of it, but it's a long race. It's a full, just a bit over 2 hours. That's easily 3 stints, possibly even 4 for the LMP2s, since they don't have quite the fuel range. But we'll see how it shapes up. I anticipate, though, if they're going to go from softs, they're going to go straight onto hard tires. They might have to, or at least maybe left side hard tires, Jesse Lee, and make their way to the very edge of the race. We do have slightly over 30 cars. I think we're nearing on 40, but because there were so many, we couldn't get through them all before the session reset and before we could get everybody's name out of our mouths. But it's going to be a great grid. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. You know, coming into it's an endurance race. 2 hours, that's an endurance race. Full stop. Jesse Lee, you're getting ready. You're on the grid. You're thinking about how you're going to do your start procedure. I mean, what are you sort of thinking strategy-wise for your launch? Do you really want to get after it and try to put some distance between yourself and others? Do you want to maybe take it a little bit easy and find your way through the field a bit later on? I mean, where would your head be at?
Yeah, see, this race is billed as 500 kilometers or about 312 miles, give or take. The reality is that you can't have mileage races in LMU, so it's an educated guess of 2 hours and 10 minutes. We suspect the hypercars will have covered about 312 miles or 500 kilometers in that time frame. So with that in your brain, you know at least one tire set, you're probably going to have to double stint. And for those that took soft tires, that's why we talk about that might not be the smartest idea. So what's your strategy here in this race is what you asked. I think you got to go like hell. I don't think you can hold anything back. He who dares wins. Yes, this is technically an endurance race of over 2 hours, but the reality is this is a sim race, and everyone is going to be looking to do quali laps on every lap.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely on the money. I think a little bit of fuel saving will go a long way in this race, but generally it's going to be, you know, an old Will Buxtonism, he who crosses the line first wins the race. That is fun fact how motorsport works just about everywhere else. But the formation has begun. It's a short formation in LMU, but Le Mans is the longest formation by nature. You're pretty much doing the second half of the Porsche curves at about 60 kph, so it's a few more moments till we get on the underway. Of course, Upton Clay, your pole sitter in the hypercar class, Adam Krexke, your pole sitter in LMP2, and Carlos Caladiud, your pole sitter in GT3. 3 different classes. They'll be tripping over each other all night long. A little bit of a kiss there from Milan van der Vecken, Jesse, onto the back of Zeno Van Triesche. Maybe just a friendly tap, say, hey, from this start, we're going for it, all right? You're gonna punch a hole and I'm gonna go through. A lot of BMWs, and I know why. It is the fastest car on Le Mans, and in one-off races, it tends to be, hey, let's pick the car that we know is good, and if you're wondering why there's so many, that could be exactly why. Of course, LMP2s are all Oricas. If you see the Decane next to Midru's name, do not fret. That is just because it is the Decane team, and our systems have decided that that is now a Decane racing car. But lots of different cars, lots of different drivers, and a few more moments, Jesse Lee, and they're going to get underway.
Here's how it shapes up. Clay and George on the front row of Hypercar. Adam Krexke, Klaus Nyring on the front row for LMP2. And Caladiad and Rufo on the front row for LMGT3. Pay close attention to everyone as they fire off, especially up into the Dunlop chicane before they get to the Mulsanne. This is going to be action-packed. We're here for a couple of hours. The drivers are here for every single. Let's see, the green flag goes down and we're away for the 500 kilometers or 312 miles of Le Mans. It's a great getaway for the front row as they're stuck side by side. Finally, Clay gives way and gets out in front. Van Triesche takes advantage and gets up to P2. George struggling ever so slightly in third, and one of the track limit barriers have already gone flying. It looks like it's been battled in LMP2. Mindrew, I think, has gotten through for the lead over Adam Krexke, and they have. The Decane car has gone from third to first. Caladian leads Rufio and LMGT3 as they hit the Mulsanne for the first time. Oh, trouble there. One of the LMP2s, and the Mustang's off as well.
Oh, I was going to say it's a really clinical start from everybody, but of course, Teto Rouge is no small feat to get through, and a couple of drivers already losing it round. I think one of them, the Mustang of Grim Lilith, and the LMP2 of Jacob Danowski there, so already getting off to a little bit of a slow start, but through the first chicane, the hypercars go. They've made it through valiantly. I think we have every single hypercar that started this race is currently still running, none of them facing the wrong way, which is absolutely stellar. Now begins everybody's favorite game. How do we use the slipstream to maximize our ability on the racetrack? That is so much of the DNA of this race circuit. Of course, the Mulsanne straight used to be without a chicane. Now it is with 2 chicanes. Still, though, 3 kilometers at the longest point of a straight line. That's a lot of slipstreaming to be done. That's a lot of opportunity to catch up. Gibson Clay, though, stepping away with Zeno Van Drieschen in tow. Everybody else just sort of fighting, vying for track position, Jesse Lee. But it's clean. It's not going great for that Bollard. That actually, well, if this was real life, that would cause a full course yellow almost immediately. But of course, in sim, it'll be fine, I'm almost sure. But a almost perfect start for the whole grid.
Looks pretty good. A couple of shocking starts in the lower 2 categories, but beyond that, everybody getting away. George is throwing up nope, they're not. I was hoodwinked there by a phantom yellow. That's not the case. Clay leads Van Drieschen, George and Voken the top 4. We right on board. Milan van der Voken right now in the Aston in a sea of BMW hypercars. They are the lone sentinel for Aston Martin inside the top 15. And they are continuing to try and make inroads on George, who had a pretty good start, but ended up being on the wrong side of the racetrack as they went to the Dunlop chicane. Jupton Clay continues to lead them around, and now Voken finds themselves in the jaws of another BMW, this time the 994 of Mazda right behind him, as we have the rear wing camera of Van der Voken's car now.
Absolutely ferociously sounding car. You can see how low it's running. I mean, Le Mans is a very flat circuit. There's not a lot of bumps. It's very well paved, save for the curbs that they're absolutely smashing in the final sector, the final few corners. But a lot of sparks being kicked up by that Aston, so clearly a very high-speed, low-drag setup for Milan van der Voken. But looking further back, curious what the LMP2s are up to, and they're still vying for the lead. Adam Krexke, our pole sitter, of course, getting jumped right at the start of the race by his compatriot in LMP2. We're just going to call it a Decane now. Orica, sorry that you paid so much money to develop this fantastic race car. It's just a Decane now. But it was a quick jump on one.
It's a Decane liveried, or it's a Decane badged Orica.
Correct.
I think is a fair assessment.
It is a Decane. It is the Decane Racing team that runs this Orica LMP2, and well, it's just a badge. You know, it's like if you suddenly decide that your Volkswagen is an Audi or something like that, or your BMW is a Mercedes. I don't know. A little bit different, but same.
I think it works the other way around, Jack. I think a lot of times when you look under the hood of an Audi, you see a Volkswagen badge. Is actually the way it goes, but it's absolutely the truth. Look at this. This is Minderu, who had a really good start of the race, but Adam Krexke is trying to take back the lead here on the second lap. Has the position to the inside, and I think they're going to get it done in the Daytona chicane, and they do not. Oh, actually they do. Krexke back into the lead of the race. I don't know what it is with reverse camera angles throwing me for a loop, but it is. Look at this. Minderu back at it again, and we're going to have a reverse in the Michelin chicane. They're side by side. The inside is typically the favored line around here unless you can brake really bravely, and that is not what happens there. The 15 of Krexke holding on. And look at this. Is that nearly pushed a pass? I don't know, but that's very close as they thunder down towards Mulsanne corner.
And Minderu on the way to Daytona chicane didn't go super defensive immediately. Krexke saw that weakness and shot it, and is now just fully defensive everywhere. They're entirely side by side as they're getting ready to hit the brakes for Mulsanne corner. Krexke looking a bit better on the inside of the corner, and it's going to be the same all the way again. They've left the pack by about 2.5 seconds, these two, but they are inches away from each other. I don't know about no millimeters or centimeters. That's less than half an inch from my American eyes, but here comes Minjru yet again, stepping out to go alongside the next back straight as they go towards one of the scariest corners in all of racing, Indianapolis. You can see full commitment from Krexke from the outside that becomes the inside, and he gets it again. This is just dogfighting as its finest. Ryan Gill, the closest car in the background, is watching this. His gap is starting to close down to the pair. He's saying, this could go well for me if this keeps going on. But if you're wondering why Le Mans is so special, this is one thing that makes it so special. You can pass, repass everywhere. You can fight so hard. You can fight so close. And it is all at such extreme high speeds.
Yeah, remind me, I do believe this is not the ELMS LMP2. This is the Le Mans ELMS, or LMP2. So this does not have the aero and the engine that the ELMS cars have. So this is actually, as far as I know, the harder to drive LMP2, which actually makes what they're doing in it even more interesting. Jack, you might actually know a little bit more on the technical side of the differences between the Le Mans LMP2 and the ELMS package, but we just saw one of them blow I believe that was the fourth chicane they actually blew, or maybe that was the final chicane indeed. But nevertheless, moment off track right there. You cannot be taking track limits this early, in my mind.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. For those who know, you have all these drivers have 4 incident points worth of track limits to play with, which admittedly isn't a lot for 2 hours of racing. So they do need to be careful. Of course, when you get that track limit warning, you can back off a bit. You can give up that time and hopefully not get that penalty. But it's not something you want to do early. It is especially not something you want to do that could cost you a position. I feel like we haven't been giving the GT3s enough credit. I haven't really wanted to look away from this fight here, but it's Carlos Caladiad that is leading that class, and it's too good to look away. A little bit of weaving legally, mind you, one move and return back to the racing line. That is what is allowed. But Adam Krexke, of course, very young driver, very hot new talent in RCI, Jesse Lee, and immediately I'm seeing a lot of maturity and a lot of really, really good racecraft from both of them.
Yeah, Adam Krexke is an amazing talent, has a lot of speed, knows how to take pole positions, but needs to learn how to convert that pole position into wins. And I think that's the thing for a lot of drivers when they start out, is that they can find speed like Krexke has, but you need to learn how to finish races and be consistent throughout and not make the silly mistakes. And we've seen a little bit of that as well, but right now that was a lot of maturity for the young driver to lose the lead and immediately retake the lead, and now starting to drive away. Looking excellent now for the LMP2 leader, Adam Krexke.
Absolutely superb driving. A bit of a pack is starting to form in the fight for 4th place in GT3, led by Riesenhauer in one of the many Freedom machines that we have running around this circuit. No Freedom livery Freedom machines, mind you. It's a little bit disappointing to see, but they're leading about a 4-long train, beginning with a Corvette, ending with a Mustang. The closest fight of the bunch are the 2 cars behind, the Lexus and the Ferrari, driven by Emil Plata. Emil Plata is a name we're getting very used to seeing. Caleb Weniger in the Lexus just ahead. I have to say, I did read up on the best hypercar for Le Mans, that being, of course, the BMW M Hybrid V8. No idea about GT3s. It could be a whole, just a straight-up guessing game on which is the preferred brand, because right now, Jesse, it looks like somebody maybe rolled the dice and just sort of went, and there we go. That's all the cars, basically, and one after the other. Maybe Corvettes are looking good. There's 2 of them in the top 5, but beyond that, I think it's going to be down to the driver in the box to find their best here in Le Castellet.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see the LMGT3 field, unlike the hypercar, and of course LMP2 doesn't really have a choice, but in LMGT3, it's anybody's guess, and by all of our accounts that we've called in the past, partner, I'm forced to believe that there really isn't a right answer. It's sort of course dependent a lot of the time, and you come to a racetrack like Le Mans and then all of that goes out of the window anyway. So one thing I do know is Carlos Caladiet has got it figured out in front of the number 30 Porsche, driving away from Rufo. It was 3.5 seconds last I looked, and that was about 3/4 of a lap ago, and it's almost 5 seconds now. Oh my goodness, has it gone wrong for Carlos Caladiet? We thought we saw him go off in Indianapolis a moment ago, but that looked like an even bigger moment for the leader in LMGT3.
That was total heart and mouth stuff. That's unbelievable that he was able to rescue that. That's coming into the Porsche curves and dipping a wheel into the grass on the brakes, sort of got it a bit squirrely, but managing to, I mean, brush the wall, but I don't think anything that's going to cause big damage, and managing to slow it down enough, do a bit of rallycross and get back onto the circuit, maybe wipe his brow just a little bit and be like, all right, good, nobody saw that. Well, somebody probably saw that. Renato Ruffo in second place, that gap now way down, definitely saw that and was like, maybe do that a couple more times, perhaps. But we could be looking for a bit of drama. We were sort of drama-less. I mean, there was a bit of spinning at the start, Jesse, but for the most part, it was remarkably clean, and the racing thus far has been remarkably fantastic. Fabien Richter here being chased down by Michael Sauvignon in the Mustang. It's hard to pick a car to root for on a day such as today, but of these two, Jesse, which one's your favorite?
Are we talking about the livery or the car in general?
Yes.
Oh man, ask me. Well, I've always been a Ford fan, rather begrudgingly, but a C8's just a nice car, isn't it? Really, they're both lovely cars, and out here representing on Freedom Day, America's 250th anniversary, and it is nice of Ryan Gill to throw us all this party here at the 312 miles of Le Mans. We are speaking to you from the Freedom commentary box today, and an all-American cast as well to kick off our Freedom Day celebrations. Everybody else kicking it off with some really good racing. Adam Krexke goes quicker again on the most recent lap. Resets quick lap in the LMP2 category. Continues to drive away from Mindrew. Nearly 3 seconds the gap. Ryan Gill closing in on that battle, or that lack of battle rather, for second place. Behind them, this fight is starting to heat up. You've got Alicia Eric versus Yan Yo for third, or actually that's for fourth place indeed. I always read the graphic backwards.
I do the same thing. I think it's just because, you sort of, for some reason, we want to read backwards, read it the wrong way. But, fight for fourth between the pair. I have to say, Ryan Gill seems like he's a bit spurred on after Thursday night's race at Sebring. Of course, the Pro-Am driver taking victory overall. But he's on the hunt for sure. Only 15 minutes into our full race, and plenty of time for drivers to find their way up. If you had a poor start, good news, 2 hours to go. If you're leading the race, bad news, you've got 2 hours till this thing's all sewn up. But it's gonna be a mixture of speed. It's gonna be a mixture of consistency, and that always important factor, keeping it between the white lines. It is a lot easier to do well in a race when all the bits stay attached to your race car, but I wouldn't blame anybody for going off. I've seen just about every wall this big, long circuit has to offer. At the front of the field, still Yopton Clay leading in hypercar. Young Adam Krexke, of course, in LMP2, and Carlos Caladiet, after his scare in the final sector, is leading comfortably and happily.
I'm actually quite curious how Caladiet did that. That's not really a place on the racetrack where you go off. I wonder if maybe they were distracted by something in the cockpit or something somebody was saying to them, is all I can really come up with. That's just an unusual place. Normally, if you go off, you're going to go off later in the Porsche curve. So very strange indeed, but that gap at 2 seconds and looks like to be going the correct direction if you're Carlos Colladian. So nothing really came of that. Just reading chat over on YouTube. Claudia was in the chat pre-show today. Hello to Dion Smith. Mike Redford said that their goal today is not to lose the GT car by GT3, not to lose to a GT3 car by the end. That is their only goal. It's an admirable one at that. Hello to Mrs. Krexke in the chat. And Varga was also here, and I believe Daniel Hearn has joined us, and Seb Brunier, RCI's very own support and what's the correct word? Engineer. Yes, indeed, in the chat as well. Well, for Mrs. Krexke, Adam's doing an excellent job. You know, right around the time that she showed up, he took the lead again. So
It's true.
That's probably something to that.
I think so. I think I listen. I personally haven't had my mother watch me race, but it would do one of two things. I'd either crash immediately or I'd go a heck of a lot faster. Unfortunately for Adam today, it's been the latter of the two options because he's really opened up the gap. Now, it was looking relatively even pace for them in the first couple of laps, but now he's managed to walk away just a tad bit, about 5 seconds at the lead of the race. Brian Gill still nipping at the heels of the Decane car. Valencia Eric round immediately in front of Yan Yo. We were watching the fight, and that allows Yan Yo to just sweep right on through, and it slowed him down a bit. Now Nyring is the car behind. That was a bit of a tricky one. That's, of course, a corner nobody thinks about, I have to say, is Rivage. But it's, you finish Indianapolis, you take a deep breath, and then you immediately forget that you have a really big, really hard braking zone that's a bit off camber, actually, that 90-degree right-hander. And these LMP2 cars, like you said, Jesse Lee, super difficult to drive. It can go just a little bit wrong, a little bit quick.
Yeah, there's a couple of corners that scare me. Indianapolis is one of them, of course, but I don't even know what the kink before Indy is even called. But that one scares me the most because it's different in every car. Some cars, you just sort of lift and you can make it to the straight bit before Indianapolis and you brake. A couple other cars, you have to brake before that. But Arnage, which is where Valencia Eric went off, is also a scary one because there's really no way to have a good off there. That was about the best case scenario for the 673. But it did unfortunately lose them several spots. Yan Yo will be happy with that. Klaus Nyring as well, promoted to 4th and 5th place respectively. Adam Krexke continues to lead. That gap going in the right direction for the number 15 Orica. 5.7 seconds as they're not looking back. Surely about the same lead for Jupton Clay over George in the hypercar class. Mazza now 3rd. Zeno Vandrisha down to 4th. Urso in 5th rounds out the top 5 in that category. I know some of you at home are probably wondering, well, the gaps are going out. That's just about it. Well, as you just saw with Eric, anything can happen at any time. And do bear in mind, they've got a couple of pit stops and some strategy to play. Several of the cars, I would say a healthy portion of the field, took soft tires out in qualifying. So that's 4 of their 8 tires used up on a soft. Now they can run those tires again in the race, of course, and they might even be doing that here on the first stint, some of them. But that does limit you strategically for later on in this race. And at some point, we know, Jack, they're going to have to double stint tires. That's going to be a lot of unhappy tires, unhappy worn tires on a racetrack, and probably near the end of the race where drivers are a little fatigued as well. And it could lead to issues. And of course, there's always pit strategy in general we have seen a lot in LMU pit stops be used offensively and defensively. Ryan Gill just a few days ago, for instance, used a pit stop and strategy offensively to win a race.
Absolutely. Bit of multi-class madness immediately for our eyes and ears. Francesco Mazza beating out Benjamin George up to P2. I was about to talk about how he's made his way into the podium positions and making no friends immediately, up to second place for the 994, but strategy is the name of the game. It's the only tool I have in my toolkit to have any sort of a good result. It can be difficult to, well, for me personally, to go fast. So instead of going fast, I say, ha, watch this. I'm just going to out-fuel save and out-strategize. And I think immediately that might have been what we're going to start to see, Jesse Lee, from Francesco Mazza, him slowing down massively to avoid a big penalty. But he slowed down again, which is the odd thing coming out of Teto Rouge. So that is a bit interesting. He's now pretty much put himself right back under the gun to lose out on the podium, because here comes Andre Ursu in the Porsche. Very striking liveried Porsche, I have to say.
I dig it. I actually dig it.
Too.
It stands out. And as broadcasters, as commentators, we were calling the race off of a monitor. So if you ever hear us confused, it's simply because we kind of see what you see, but we're also trying to commentate as we're doing it. So you do that seat of the moment, spur of the moment. It's hard to do. And with a striking livery like we just saw, it does make it quite a bit easier indeed, as Urso does go by Mazza for third place. So change for P3 in the hypercar class, but you got to watch the switchback, partner. Here he comes again. Here comes Mazza.
He's thinking about it. He sort of ran out of room there. There's, of course, a GT3 Lamborghini there that's making the track a little bit less wide, but good car placement by Andre Ursu. Francesco Mazza maybe not too pleased with that, but I think the BMW, the better of the two in terms of straight line speed. We're on the backstretch now towards Indianapolis. If you want to move done here, you're pretty much going to need to get fully alongside before the corner, but jumping out of the slipstream is Francesco Mazza. I think playing a little bit of a game there, Jesse Lee, not wanting to catch them into Indianapolis, maybe wanted to wait a few more corners, and that could be, well, that is an incredibly smart tactical decision. Something else I've noticed about that Porsche, it was clad with Pegassi Motorsport. The only thing I know Pegassi from is, of course, the fake car brand from the Grand Theft Auto series. I don't know if there's a correlation. I'm going to pretend like it is. So that's the Rockstar Motorsports Porsche hypercar.
Cool. I like that.
It's, you know, we make up a little bit of lore here, but it's great to see. Finally, something that's not a BMW has broken into the top three.
Making headway is Urso, and we'll see if they continue that. They're 5.7 seconds down on George in P2. So we'll see if that continues as we get into the sort of the meat of the race. And this is going to be a constant issue for the two faster classes, lapping the LMGT3s, and for the hypercars, lapping the LMP2s as well. Track is going to be congested, and the back markers, or the slower classes rather, will be an issue. Traffic will always plays against you and for you. It ebbs and flows as the race goes. I saw a couple of the LMGT3s that looked like they purposefully ducked off of the racetrack there. Fights all up and down the field. This one for P10 in the hypercar class. We have had a couple of retirements in LMP2. I did see a yellow in Sector 2 about 2.5 laps ago. I believe that was from Raphael Huell, who has since retired from the race in LMP2. And something more recently has happened to Mindrew, as they have retired from P2 in LMP2.
Yeah, of course, it's sort of a group of cars. I was expecting LMP2s to have a bit of a higher attrition rate. Ted Edwards sweeping through there. I think maybe Pat Barber, a little bit of a penalty, maybe a little bit held up by the Aston Martin, but finally no longer holding on to the wooden spoon, as we say, is Ted Edwards. But yeah, we've lost a handful of cars. Raul Mindrew, the latest in LMP2. Raphael Huell, like you said, has retired as well, and so did Jokeris Presson and Jacob Danowski. In GT3, Michael Sauvignon, Ricky Berry, and Grim Lilith, all having retired from the race fairly early on for majority of them. But it's this kind of thing you see in, I feel like in longer races rather than shorter ones, because I feel like, Jesse, it's easier to stick it out as a driver who has less driving to do than one who has longer. Because yes, you have time to fight back, but there's also that mental thing of, all right, I get to drive in the middle of nowhere for, well over an hour, maybe even an hour and a half before I get into a fight. Not everybody's up for that on a Saturday afternoon. And also, I'm just gonna say, I think they left to go celebrate the 4th of July. Woo woo USA.
You know, and I've always invited people, regardless of where they're from, celebrate the 4th of July, because really what you're celebrating is democracy and freedom of speech and all that. So, hey, what better way to exercise your freedom of speech than to, have a cookout and light some fireworks? I mean, who doesn't? I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with motorsport anyway, if you really think about it. Clay continues to lead over George. Urso leads tentatively over Mazza for P3. If you thought that fight was going to stop just because Urso got through, well, here we are nearly 2 laps later, and nothing has really been settled. They are bringing the Estonian driver Billy Octane into the fight. That gap is decreasing all of the time. The SJ&H driver looking to maybe go from 5th to 3rd here with one lucky move. We've seen him do it before. He'll certainly try to capitalize and do it again. We ride on board Mazza looking at Ursu in front. Nothing in between. I think you're right, Jack, by the way. I think the BMW has the legs, but I think the sort of pace that Ursu has is sort of helping that Porsche along a little bit.
It almost seems like, rather particularly, the Porsche's rather good in the Porsche curves. Don't know, there could be something to that, but
suspicious.
Suspicious, as we say. I think just the Porsche a bit better in the corners, maybe a bit more set up for it. Le Mans it's a low downforce circuit. A lot of cars actually having sort of specific Le Mans rear wings. And when they're basically dinner plates at that point, big long platters rather than big aerodynamic elements. And I think maybe Ursu electing for, what if I ran an extra degree of rear wing, so I'm a bit more stable in this 3rd sector? And, well, it seems to be going reasonably well, but favors can absolutely change. I think they've made it through on the GT3 field. That only leads me to believe that perhaps they're starting to reach the back of the LMP2 field. There's only 6 of them right now, but overtaking them is a whole different ball game from overtaking a GT3. The pace differential so great between a hypercar and an LMGT3. LMP2's not quite the same. LMP2's are better on the brakes and a bit quicker mid-corner, actually, generally. But it might cause a bit of frills between the two that are battling now. It's still Jupton Clay leading overall, Benjamin George falling behind, and of course these 3 drivers that are on screen right now, your top 5 in LMP2. Adam Korekske, 6.5 seconds the gap now to Ryan Gill, who's taken over 2nd place after Mindrew's retirement. Klaus Nyring is the driver in 3rd. Carlos Caladiud led it at lap 1, has held on to it the whole time, has opened up the gap to Renato Ruffo in 2nd, and Caleb Weniger is in the 3rd position. A little bit of a yellow flag there for Vilsia Eric Jesse Lee.
That's a big one.
That's a huge one. There's a rear wheel back there. There's a rear wing that's missing. The question is how and why. It's the Porsche curve, so I think I know how. Why, I don't think there's a reason for, but we'll see what it looks like here.
Let's take a look and see how he lost all of that equipment. And yeah, just lost it and slams hard into the wall, losing the left rear tire, losing the wing. If he can somehow make his way all the way around, he can fix that car up and continue, but I highly doubt that's going to be the case. And in fact, Eric has DNF'd. I touched on it very briefly earlier on about how different the Le Mans LMP2s are versus the ELMS LMP2s. We race the ELMS versions of these LMP2s on Thursdays on RCI, and they have more power, the aero's better, and they're actually quite fun to drive. The Le Mans version of the LMP2s are quite tricky. The hardest cars in modern sim racing, I think, honestly.
I would agree.
Yeah, they're just, it's just hard to explain. I'm trying to explain to everyone at home. They snap out of nowhere. You get absolutely no warning, and there's no such thing as a small incident. You have no chance to correct the car, and it can be frustrating, but when it's dialed in, they are incredibly fun. They're a tricky car to drive, and I think that explains the attrition rate in LMP2 today. No extra downforce on those cars. Adam Kreske continues to lead. I was just I was chuckling at a message from his mother in chat. Said that see if I can find it. I've watched nearly all his hockey matches in references to Adam Kreske and his races, because that's what moms do. But his talent definitely comes from his dad. You know what? I would say, Mrs. Kreske, at least 50% of his talent is attributed to you. Can we get Mrs. Kreske in a race sometime? That is literally science. I'm just spitting science. Can we get Mrs. Kreske in a race sometime? How fun would that be?
I think that'd be awesome. I think everybody, if they have a mom available, put them in the sim, and we could do a parents only RCI event.
Oh, that would be amazing.
And well, to be fair, there are plenty of parents that are currently driving an RCI, and they might be allowed. We have we could have two classes. We have parent racers and racers parents. That are the two classes of our event. So I don't know, just spitballing here, but I think that would be amazing.
That would be absolutely incredible. We've had all sorts of team configurations over the years, Jack. We've had obviously father and son, father and daughter, dating couples, married couples of all kinds. I don't think we've ever had a mother and son duo in a race. How cool would that be to have that one day?
I think it'd be absolutely mega. Milan van der Vecken, I noticed he was carving up the timing sheet. That is because, well, rather unfortunately, he is a lap down from the lead. These are all passes for position overall, all of these GT3 cars. But I also noticed he is already on a soft tire, Jesse Lee. That would lead me to believe that his mediums that he took at the beginning of the race are absolutely shot to pieces. So he might very well have to take these soft tires for an hour and 36 minutes. That might be a bit tricky. Milan's a stellar driver, but even the best might struggle to make those tires last. It is a bit warm on circuit. I'll be honest, 41 degrees. It could be hotter, but well, that'll save some tires. That line right there.
Yeah, it certainly will. Upton Clay continues to lead in the hypercar class over George and Ursu, who I believe Varga is in chat cheering for. I believe that's Andre Ursu who he's cheering for, unless I'm very much mistaken. Up to P3, and here he is, Ursu, sort of on his, I was going to say he's on his own looking out the windscreen, but in the rearview camera, still has Mazza all over him 3 or 4 laps later. Mazza has not left the Porsche alone as they continue to lap around quite quickly and quite closely indeed. In fact, that actually might be the biggest difference they've had in lap time in recent memory. 0.4 of a second in favor of Andre Ursu that time around, and considering they've only got about 0.7 in it, you could imagine that doubled the gap between the two of them, and we're still under a second for P3. Carlos Caladian continues to lead in LMGT3 over Rufo. And Caleb in third place in the Lexus is 12 seconds behind. Reisenhauer in fourth. Imoplata, the top five. Tetzelin is threatening Imoplata, however, for that fifth place position. A lot of close racing still left to go as we get to the part of the race, Jack, where we start thinking and talking about that first pit stop of the day.
Absolutely. They're starting to get a little bit close here. Energy tanks running dry. The LMP2s are going to be the first to go in. I anticipate possibly next lap, maybe even this lap for some that are hooning it. I must admit, not nearly as familiar with the WEC Le Mans LMP2s compared to how I am with the ELMS LMP2s, but they're about the same on fuel mileage. They're about the same, very small tanks, very small, very light racing cars, so they should be in first. Hypercars and LMGT3s, at least in Le Mans Ultimate, at least with the amount of fuel saving that seems to happen on both ends, they're about the same. No big sort of swings that we're used to seeing, Jesse. I feel like in a lot of races, it's like, all right, so this guy's got an extra lap on this person, but because it's such a long lap, because you have to save, you know, almost a tenth of your tank, it's about 8% energy, maybe a little under than that for a full lap. Nobody's really going for it. Everybody running the same strategy throughout the field. The only one I see that sticks out to me is Nikita Statsulin, who's in the number 11 McLaren in 6th place. They are, well, hooning it on fuel compared to the rest of them. And actually, Miroslav Makenko in the Lamborghini, same way, but that's also just kind of a Lamborghini thing. 10 cylinders, a lot of fuel usage, but I'm impressed that everybody seems to have the right idea. Well, I'm going to assume it's the right idea because, Jesse, it kind of looks like the only idea right now.
Yeah, what I was impressed about was Jordan Daly had a couple of percentage more on the field, but I do worry at most racetracks that would be the difference between a lap or so. But unfortunately, we are at Circuit de la Sarthe. We're at Le Mans today, so that is not quite enough to get him anything additional. But what it could possibly do is create a slightly quicker pit stop by a second or so. And in a race like this, every little bit still counts, even if you can't eke out an additional lap. Maybe after the second pit stop, that will be beneficial indeed, because the way you look at it, folks, in an endurance race, which is what this is, they'll make 3 pit stops today at least. If you can start saving from the start, you basically get your, I don't know how to explain it, but it sort of doubles every stop, and you build and multiply your advantage every time you stop, whether that's a shorter time in the box or what have you. That is kind of what you're trying to do with your pit stop, with your fuel economy. You're trying to stack up extra efficiency so that you can have a shorter, quicker stop right at the end of the race. Riding on board with Daly here, and I don't see anything particularly obvious. Well, actually, that's definitely obvious. That's way more of a lift than you really have to do in a hypercar.
I'm sort of seeing the same thing. I also was hearing, going through the Porsche curves, those front tires were squealing just a bit. So he's fuel saving. By nature, when you fuel save, you end up doing a bit of tire saving, but in a flat out sector,
he's absolutely saving.
He's absolutely doing it. He's running those tires pretty hard, though. I will say, just by hearing them.
I wonder if he's saving fuel accidentally because the car is tight on the tires that it has, and he's sort of circumventing that by just essentially going slower. The green bar, of course, is the throttle sort of placement. And when it's not green at all, obviously he's not on the throttle, and by virtue of that would be saving fuel. But in Dunlop and into Tetra Rouge, the same thing. He was just fully off of it way before, and there was a space between when he applied the brakes. So racing theory typically indicates if you're not on the gas, you should be on the brake, and vice versa. So that sort of middle time where nothing's going on typically tells us that they are trying to save fuel. Clay leads George in Urso. Adam Kreske over Ryan Gill now, with Klaus Nyring in third, Yan Yo in fourth, and Mike Redford in fifth place has been chatting while he has been driving. And we don't condone distracted driving, but the Mulsanne Straight is very, very long. Mike Redford has given us a mid-race report. He's very bored indeed. And also the locking on those cars, those LMP2 cars, are really bad on the Le Mans version. I think you and I can attest to that as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's not as bad. I'd say it's the least worst in the LMP2 cars. You get them up to temperature really quickly. They have a lot of downforce. They don't weigh a whole lot, so you'll feel it in the first couple of corners, but as you get out, you sort of begin to do it. A bunch of damage repair as well, said Mike Redford, so that's shot him back down the order. But new set of tires, a new and renewed spirit, hopefully, might be able to find himself challenging up the way just a bit. The pit stops are beginning, and the LMP2s, some of them actually outlasting some of the GT3 cars, so I'm very impressed, I must admit. And if those of you at home who are wondering, hey, why don't you know how much fuel they have? That's part of the regulations of all of these cars, the hypercars and the LMGT3s.
He's doing this on purpose.
He is. He knows we're watching. He himself, I'm sure, is watching the stream. Hey, Redford, if you can hear this, do you mind awfully flashing your headlights? Then we'll stop watching you so you can crash in peace. I didn't mean that. I was kidding. You'll do great, sweetie. But the regulations are such that virtual energy only applies to hypercars and LMGT3s, LMP2s, and in fact GTEs do not have that regulation. Therefore, it is not reported to our tools. Therefore, we are unable to see how much fuel they have. There's the flash of the lights. He's listening. He's watching. He is Mike Redford.
Yeah, Mike Redford, there's a couple of drivers that do that. Jordan Daly, who's also in today's race, is also famous for winning races and chatting while he's doing it. Redford in the top 5 here after doing their first stop. Yen Yo's in pit lane, and they have been for a while. Urso has brought the number 78 Porsche out of 3rd place in hypercar into pit lane. Makaniko, Ravistong, and I believe Reisenhauer have been in. Actually, Reisenhauer has not been in the pit lane, but the number 60 and the number 23, 6th and 7th place respectively in LMGT3 have been in for their first pit stop of the day. Here's how they all stack up. Oh no, I was right the first time. Oh no, I was right. I was right the first time and wrong the second time and right the third time. So Ravistong has been in. Richter, Ricciardo, Kestemont, Wearsire, and I believe Lane have all been in so far, according to the stops on our pit report. And that will leave the top 5 yet to do their stops. Yo and Redford have pitted out of the LMP2 category, leaving the top 3 of Krexke, Gill, and Nyring still yet to do the stop, and only 2 cars in hypercar have come in. We just saw Urso pit out of 3rd. Billy Octane followed them through, and Barber is getting the attention of their team as we speak. Yeah, getting a little bit of fuel. Maybe some tires. I don't know. I think a lot of drivers are sort of like, I will take my my qualifying tires into the race, of course. That's and pit entry from the United Autosport. It's immediately a pass repass in pit lane for 2 different classes. It's these things happen. Yep. And another reminder, if you see everybody sort of staying out of the way of each other in pit lane, there is full collision. Possibly one of my favorite features in Le Mans Ultimate is full collision in the pit lane. You have to enter and exit in a way where you don't run into anybody or get ran into. Sometimes you have to pull into your pit box sideways. We'll see, is the United Autosport going to do it? Yes, proving my point brilliantly. You have to pull in sideways and you get turned. You don't lose any time, just in case you were about to get angry and say, that's stupid. No, it's not. It's awesome. It's super neat. Leader overall, Jesse Lee. Yupton Clay, from a very comfortable margin, is coming in for their initial bit of service. They will be followed by the rest of the hypercar field, and I do not see anybody that might be able to make an extra lap, except for maybe Milan van der Vecken, but he has already taken a stop. He was a little bit off sequence from the rest of the field, so everybody in this lap pit lane is about to get busy.
this could be where races are won and lost, but with an hour and a half to go, I still think we are nowhere close to determining who's going to win this thing.
Yeah, absolutely the case. We'll be none the wiser even after this pit stop, but it is a busy place right now. Everybody that wasn't attempting an undercut is in the pit lane now. Carlos Caladian is down and gone. Everything's all good on their stop, despite the fact that they were passed and had to repass in the lane as the LMP2 was avoiding getting a penalty, because the way the penalty system works in LMU is it will show you a graphic on the screen when you're about to get a penalty for extending track limits, and that even still applies in the pit lane. So what essentially the LMP2 car had to do was hit the brakes, had to stop to satisfy the requirements of not getting a penalty, give back time, for lack of a better term, and that caused Carlos Claudia to have to do a heads-up play, but they ended up single file in pit lane nonetheless. No further drama then. Yepton Clay out of the pit lane, all's good there. We do watch for speeding penalties, and we do watch for issues on pit road, but none to really report other than the missing of the pit lane by that one LMP2 car. Clay, George, Urso, all continuing to circulate. Everybody down and gone with the exception of Daly and the 38 Cadillac, who are still getting service from their teams. Everybody seems to have made it out unscathed after pit stop number 1. Job done.
Absolutely. I have a theory about these two cars. We're on board with Ryan Gill, Adam Krexke just ahead. Gill managing to make up some time in pit lane, but the gap ahead of Nyring is such that I'm going to guess that I know that Mike Redford took tires. I'm sure he wasn't the only one. I think Yanyo and Klaus Nyring all took a fresh set of tires on this first stop. I think these two either started on their qualifying tires and are taking them longer, or started on a fresh set of tires and will switch to the quali set at the end. Basically, vis-a-vis, as a layman, they didn't take tires. They were in pit lane for a less amount of time. That's why them two have such a gap to third. But yet again, Ryan Gill chipping away at that lead. Krexke has had the pace, the 1 lap and few lap pace, but I think Gill's playing a strategy game here that might end up really playing into his favor.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You look at the gaps for the cars. You just pointed out in LMP2 that Krexke and Gill have a huge lead, Nyring way further back than they were originally. Clay has a little bit of a bigger gap than they had as well, but Urso has run down George just a little bit, and by just a little bit, that gap has halved after the stop. We'll see if they can keep that up. We'll see if Ryan Gill can keep up the pursuit of Adam Krexke. Carlos Caladian has a massive lead out in LMGT3 now, as I believe Caleb has jumped everybody in the Lexus, unless they haven't pitted and we didn't notice. They have made huge inroads in the LMGT3 field. Can we see the pit stop graphic one time? They have pitted. They have pitted. Weniger has done such a good job in pit road. They just had a quicker stop than everybody else, it looks like, in pit road. Jumped all the way to P2 in the Lexus.
That's absolutely incredible, actually. That's really good work. Almost bad work into Indianapolis. That, I'd say, is mostly successful. That is a mostly successful corner there. Full transparency, we're just with a Lamborghini Huracan because I like it, because I think it makes a good noise. I think it's cool. And that's about it. I don't have anything interesting to say about this car other than I like it.
Well, you happen to capture a moment Manenko would have probably appreciated you didn't in Indianapolis, but that is the dangers of the racetrack, and that's the scary part about Le Mans. It can go wrong at any time in any corner. I've done that myself 100 million times over the year, and it was worse before they added the sand trap because there wasn't anything there but a little bit of asphalt and a wall. And before there was asphalt there was just a little cutting road there and grass, and it was even worse. It certainly got better over the years, allowing the drivers like the number 60 Lamborghini there to escape and continue to run their race without any further incidents. And we love that here it is, the fight for P2, riding on board Rufo. Renato Rufo trying to make that pass again for P2 to retake the spot, but heavy traffic in between them now. Oh, he's got the run on the inside.
He does. It's multi-class giveth, multi-class taketh away. That's the two fighting hypercars of Andre Ursu and Francesco Mazza, who are diving their way down the first bit of the Mulsanne straight as they head into the Daytona chicane. And we saw one move a second ago in GT3. We might be getting to see one move in a few seconds. Francesco Mazza not quite on the brakes. These two fighting hard during the first stint. Seems that the pit stops have changed absolutely nothing between the two. We've anticipated that the BMW has the legs on the straight, and I think coming out of the Daytona chicane, we might see just that, though. Yet again, Jesse Lee stepping out of the slipstream. I now have another theory, one of my many famous theories. Two possible things. Either these two may be friends, may be teammates, so they're going to work together a bit, or Francesco Mazza completely on his own has decided, hold on, I can work this here. What I can do, if you look at the virtual energy, he already has about 7% above. He's using that Porsche as a way to save extra fuel, because basically you're getting free lap time stuck behind a car like that, but he goes for the brakes, maybe, sort of, maybe a little bit of a lockup for the Porsche. I was saying he was working together with him, but immediately gets back to racing into Mulsanne corner, and the BMW sneaks his way up, but very tactical, very smart, waiting for the right moment, rather. He's far smarter than I would ever be. He said, here's my best opportunity, but here comes the Porsche immediately back again.
They're continuing to race it out here. If they are teammates, they're giving each other just enough room. It's a really respectful battle. On the brakes again into Indianapolis. Locks up, does the BMW. Loses out on time, and Urso retakes P3 in the race and gets a little bit of breathing room, if only just. Excellent racing here for P3. Pass and repass.
Absolutely. These two treating us to all the popcorn munching motorsport we could ever wish to have at Le Mans, but it's such tactical racecraft from both of them. It's all about car placement. It's all about everything. It could be about traffic here because, well, maybe just about. Carlos Caladio just sort of there saying, please awfully don't drive into my car. I don't want to jinx it. I'd be terrified to do so, but we haven't seen, at least that I've been aware of, any GT I was about to say GTP. This is an IMSA, but we could pretend it is on today, the most holiest of days. I don't either. But the hypercar on LMGT3 violence that we sometimes often see, everybody's really giving each other lots of space, which is great to see because I love multi-class racing. I say it every week we do it. It is such a special type of motorsport. It is its own type of racing from single make, from cup racing, from anything else, because there is an element that you can't plan for. You can practice, but you can't plan for, oh, I happen to have caught a GT3 going slowly coming out of Tete Rouge, and I have another hypercar behind me. I can't do anything about it. I might lose this position, but how am I going to fight back? It's just all about that and coming out of Tete Rouge. Speaking of Jesse Lee, the BMW well and truly in the slip again.
We're right back at it. Deja vu. Here we are again. Urso leads over Mazza for P3 in the hypercar class, and that little bit of breathing room was only good for about half of a lap. Here comes Francesco Mazza again in the BMW. You can see both cars on the medium tires. Unknown which tire or if they change tires, but it makes little difference in this battle as they race down towards the Michelin chicane. Inside afforded to Mazza. Mazza has it. They touch a little bit of a touch into the Michelin chicane, and positions reversed again. Francesco Mazza out in front of Andre Urso as they've done it once more.
I think it was the Porsche there that had a little bit of a lockup on turn, and it may have been the BMW from the inside, but I saw a puff of smoke. So these two may be working their tires a little bit harder in this fight. It might It could come back to bite him a little bit later in the race, but I think if they're on the mediums now, they didn't change tires, they should be roughly okay by the time we get to the end of the race. But we talked about it earlier on. It didn't quite transpire fully, Jesse, but them two fighting, bringing the Estonian, the Billy Octane, the Billiam Octavius into the question, because the gap
Don't
was...
bring his government name into this.
Sorry, I will refrain. Mr. Octane.
We apologize, Mr. Octavian.
I didn't mean to give it out to the whole world there, but the gap was significantly larger than it is now. We haven't been able to see him in the back of any of these shots, but now he's started to arrive. And if it works out a bit better for him, they keep fighting. Maybe a GT3 in the Porsche curves. I mean, Billy could be right up into this fight. At least he has the best view of everybody, and he gets to just sit back and munch some popcorn.
Well, for now, Mazza has P3 over Urso, and it's now all to do for Andre Urso to figure out how to remain competitive with the BMW. It is a 1-2-3 BMW lockout in hypercar up at the front of the field. Sterninger and Daly are actually quite close, I've just realized, on the racetrack here for P7. Daly, I thought, was going to make up time on his pit stop. Looks like he lost out, down to 8th place, trying to regain 7th from Leopold as they are nose to tail. And I suspect if the other BMW fight with Mazza is anything to go by, I would reckon Daly has Sterninger on straight line speed.
I would think so, but we're getting into the twisties now. Daly getting all up in the mirrors of the mighty Cadillac. I do know that there were supposed to be far more Cadillac hypercars in this field, but after driving it, after a bunch of these guys drove it in an earlier race last week, a mistake from Sterninger that ends up with Jordan Daly taking that position. A little bit of a lockup in the Ford chicanes for him, but that's job done. But everybody sort of drove it in a Le Mans 2.4 that was an official race, a weekly race in Le Mans Ultimate. They said, bit twitchy, this thing. They went and tried a bunch of other cars. They said, BMW, nice. So that's why there's a few more BMs, and I don't think it mattered to them, but they happened to have jumped into the fastest car on the track.
This is not a BMW advertisement, but it might as well be. Car slow, and it is going to be Vandrisha. Or is that Mazza? No, that's Mazza.
Something
oh my
went a bit
goodness,
wrong.
Francisco Mazza out of P3 in the first chicane has had a spot of bother. Let's see, by themselves it looks like. We saw this car lock up a few times before, but they were deep, deep, deep in the exit. Oh, and they just get it wrong. They just get it wrong. A little bit too much speed. Ursu goes through. Mazza up against the wall. Everybody else cycling through. Mazza from P3 down several positions as they sort out the electronics on the car and get back onto the racetrack. Now outside the top 5, P6 for Mazza, and certainly damage to the right side of that BMW.
The thing that's a bit interesting about that, first of all, way to keep it from absolutely wrecking that car, because it was airborne at one point, fully sideways, heading for a wall, held onto the brakes, and I think a little bit of a brush with the wall, but nothing that would damage the car too heavily. But Francesco Mazza, that was the first time we saw it at the very beginning of that shot, that Andre Ursu was about 2 seconds behind. So the first time the BMW was really running in clear air, and I think wishing that they were maybe still behind that Porsche, because it went a bit wrong when they're on their own. But Francesco Mazza has still plenty of time to fight back and get up ahead. But it's still Jesse Leonauer and 10 minutes to go in this race. Upton Clay, your leader in hypercar. Adam Krekske, still the leader in LMP2. And Carlos Caladiud is leading in LMGT3 in endurance races. We talk about how important qualifying is. And usually the answer is no, not really. In a 2-hour race, it does matter a little bit. But I think today up to this point, up to about half distance. The pole sitters all just have it in hand.
Yeah, I mean, remember, Kreske actually lost the lead in LMP2, had to go up there and drive back around to take the lead, and it really, ever since then, hasn't looked back. Everybody else has had a sort of an easier go of it, but you're right, it was absolutely important, especially in a race like this. I talked on the grid about how everyone's going to treat this as just 2 hours and 10 minutes of qualifying laps, and that's really what you have to do in sim racing in general, in an endurance race most of the time. I think in iRacing the mentality is slightly different because you get 60-70 car grids some of the time, and your mentality is different. But in a normal size grid where there's about 30 or so cars, you kind of just have to go for it on every single lap. It's just the way that it is. Justin Clay enjoys a 15-second lead. Kreske enjoys a 4-second lead. We thought Gill was going to go up there and challenge Adam Kreske for LMP2. That hasn't happened. In fact, Kreske has found the pace again once the tires got back up to temperature and is now taking massive chunks of time out of Ryan Gill. Ryan Gill unable to really respond to that. Kaladiad continues to build the lead after that scary moment early. They have been absolutely on it in that Porsche. Rufo now 20 seconds behind. Caleb Weiniger in third now in the Lexus. Lost a little bit of time after losing P2, but is now 2 seconds behind, but no real threat from Reisenhauer behind. In fourth, Imo Plata rounds out the top 5 in that category. For LMP2's surviving, Yan Yo, the most recent DNF from that category, and here is how it happened.
Coming through the Porsche curves, we've seen it before. Is it a similar loss? It is almost identical to what we saw a few laps ago. It almost the exact same result. This time, though, the rear wing staying on, but that is going to be pretty much an instant retirement. There is also a good chance with that car, with that result, Jesse, that engine actually blew. That is a big hit. These are mid-engine machines. There are lots of important bits in the back of the car, and there is, to a certain degree, engine damage simulation in this sim. So that is very unfortunate for Yan Yo. And, well, good news for Mike Redford. He was sort of a little bit sad sitting in the back of the field. At this rate, he could be on the podium. I mean, heck, at this rate, he could be the sole survivor of this field if the attrition rate keeps
Are we on
the way
Survivor?
it is. Could be. Why not?
Is that where what's his name? Jeff Probst? Is that his name? Is that the guy who hosts that scary moment there? Just as we cut away, hypercar into the back of an LMGT3, and that's your leader, Justin Clay, who got into the back of that Aston Martin in the chicane, the final chicane. And that was a scary moment there, as that could have been way bigger than it was. There was still contact. There might be front end damage on the leading BMW and hypercar, but even still, that could have been way worse. It just looks like the Aston nearly came to a stop right there.
Now let's see if there was a little bit of contact between the two, because I'm almost certain that there was a bit of a hit, but coming into it, I think Justin Clay thought the Aston was getting out of the way. No, nothing actually there. It was just a bit of a step out of the way, and then it's the Ferrari.
It was the Ferrari, not the Aston.
Interesting. So it was Imo Plata, actually, that was coming into the corner, maybe a little bit awkward, that caught out the leader in hypercar. But I've to that, no harm, no foul. These things happen. If it ended much worse, if maybe a car went round, maybe we talk more about it. But I think well held by the two. But everybody sort of around. Jesse Lee, Ryan Gill.
No. Oh no! The chat's seen it. The chat's seen it. You've seen it. Now we're gonna see it. Ryan Gill has DNF'd from P2 in the LMP2 category. That promotes Klaus Neiring to second and Mike Redford into third in LMP2. What on earth has happened to Ryan Gill?
That's a wonderful question. I actually don't know if anything happened to Ryan Gill because there's nothing reporting on my replay screen. I don't see any yellow flags, any contact, anything, which leads me to believe, because generally when this happened, it isn't a crash. It's actually just a disconnection from the server. So I'm wondering if Ryan Gill maybe had a catastrophic error with the old Wi-Fi, our good friend Wi-Fi that lets us race or not. And I think he's gone from this race. So a bit of heartbreak from him.
Man.
And maybe something we'll get an answer to eventually. If it is, I will say, if he did in fact disconnect and is able to reconnect, he is able to continue this race. But I think it's something where at that point you're going to lose the lap that you were on, and you're probably going to end up a lap or two at the back of your field. So I didn't want it to be this way. I did say it a moment ago that Redford might end up on the podium, but currently...
You have to stop saying stuff. I don't know what it is with you. Every week, it's the same thing with you. You speak things into existence. I don't know if you're on the Mike Redford payroll or what exactly it is, but Mike Redford on the podium, he was 8th place an hour ago.
He was indeed. So we got Harry Conway in YouTube chat saying that Ryan crashed. He is in the Discord call with him, so knowing what is going on. One of our retirements from early in the race goes by the name of Ricky Berry, believe it or not, but they said that Ryan did in fact have an accident. So unfortunately for us, fortunately for Ryan Gill, we did not see it. So
oh my goodness,
he could claim something else happened at this point, but man, what a shame for the LMP2 field. Still an hour to go. 3 remain, Jesse Lee, and I will stop saying anything about the fate of that field because I feel like I'm gonna cause something else.
Well, Emo Plata has just about caught Reisenhower for P4 in LMGT3. Everybody else has a decently healthy gap between them. As we go through the field, Adam Kreske continues to lead. No dramas there. One of the 3 remaining LMP2 cars. Clay, after a scary moment in this very chicane, is going very well indeed. And everyone else just hoping to keep it all together here. It's been a war of attrition in LMP2, certainly. And I believe we're experiencing a chess match in LMGT3, if I'm honest. A couple of drivers quite close. I think my timing and scoring just glitched there for a moment. A couple of cars looked quite close indeed that were not quite close indeed. The Corvette of Rufo and Waniger looked like they were on top of each other, but they are not. Here is Imo Plata in the number 54 Ferrari, and that gap has widened a little bit. It was under a second coming down the Mulsanne, but now it's widened out. Reisenhower in the Corvette driving away from the scene. Just about 1 hour left to go in the race. Attrition has been the name of the game, but strategy still yet to play out here today. Mike Redford, if you just want to go ahead and give your podium interview now via text chat, we'll read it out for you.
That would be, he would do that, honestly. He's asking when F1 qualifying is as well, so clearly he's ready to second and third
Sky
screen.
Sports to you? We don't have the right accents to be on Sky Sports.
Nope.
We fought a war to not be a
You're
part
right.
of Sky Sports, which we're celebrating today. 250 years of America.
Absolutely. July 4th, 1776 was a very important day for all of us who reside in the U.S. of A. And 310 miles of Le Mans is how we're choosing to start it all off, Jesse, before the barbecues get fired up and before we absolutely house some red meat, maybe a beverage of choice. And then, of course, as any good American would end off their night, we're going to then blow up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but responsibly,
yes,
of course, and well within our local and state ordinances. I just want to make that very clear that we will do that in a controlled, safe manner later on this evening after all of the barbecue. And you forgot my favorite part of 4th of July, the comedy cookout aprons.
Oh, of course. Are you a grill master, Jesse Lee? Do you have yourself comedy apron?
I'll put it. Yeah, I have a couple actually. Yeah.
All right, which one's your favorite, and what does it say if that is broadcastable?
I'm not. Yeah, it's not broadcastable. Unfortunately, it's not something I would say out loud. But it is funny. I've got a couple. I've got one of the silly ones that's it's a sort of it's an apron, right? But it has an apron on it of a ripped, like, jacked guy. You know what I mean? Like 6-pack and all that. I've got that one, but that is not my personal favorite. But I am most happy in front of the grill. Maybe not today with the heat, as I was lamenting prior to going live today. But rather besides, I'm the family cook, I would say.
So fortunately for me, both my dad, brother, and I are all fairly good. I'm the least experienced of the group as the youngest, but I fancy myself a grill master. I'll be doing some ribs. I'll be attempting ribs this afternoon. I'm excited. Will it go well? Will it go poorly? Well, I hope it goes one way or the other.
Have some confidence in yourself.
It's going to be great. They're going to have a really nice crust on them. I'm going to make sure that they are not quite fall off the bone, because I'm of the mind that your ribs shouldn't fall right off the bone. They should have a little bit of chew to them. That's just my personal rib chat.
I always default to the Gordon Ramsay train of thought. If it's brown, it's cooked. If it's black, it's, well, can't say that on television, rather, unfortunately. But he's Scottish, so you can imagine what the next word is.
I could think of a few, none of which that I'm going to say right now.
He says it a lot on his television programs. Is what it is. 3-time Night Out champion in chat saying, Jesse, we need to cook. Man, if I had a nickel for every time I've heard that in my life, it'll happen today. I can guarantee you several of my friends will say that to me by evening's end, probably under the influence of an adult beverage as they do it. Very funny indeed, every single time.
I'd say if you did have a nickel, you could probably buy yourself one of these race cars, quite honestly. Go with the Jesse Lee. What? All right, your racing team.
Oh, here we go.
What's the name going to be? You've thought of this.
Probably something incredibly silly and spur of the moment, I would imagine.
All right, fair enough. I'd respect that.
The graffiti car, by the way. I believe we're looking at Rufo. Yeah, I like it. We love a good livery here at RCI, and ones that are unusual or stand out, very graffiti-esque.
It is good. It's very. It stands out. It's well done. There's a few little details. I think if I was sponsoring the car, if I was Puma, I'd maybe be a bit annoyed because you could barely read it, but that's.
But maybe that's the branding.
Maybe
that's the point, right?
Maybe.
I don't claim to understand fashion, right? But maybe the sticker bomb with the Puma, maybe that is the point. My wife is more into the whole fashion thing, but it certainly looks like a sneaker that costs way more than I would ever pay for a pair of shoes. But you never can tell. Puma, not a sponsor either as well. Some of the traffic coming through, believe, making their way around without incident. A couple of them happening today, rather unfortunately. A lot of solo spins and a couple of interclass incidents. We haven't really talked about Rapsathon at all today. The Aston sort of minding their own. There's a lot of these cars in the LMGT3 field that we haven't really had a lot to say about. They've kept it quiet and calm. Rapsathon, one of them. Kestamont driving off the racetrack ever so slightly. A couple of positions behind them, but outside the top 5, Mechanico, Rapsathon, Richter, Kestamont, Ricciardo, Lang, Werser, and Inian, the 13 cars that we have. Don't worry, We've not had 6 retirements from LMGT3. LMU reports cars that have signed up but have not taken part. So that's what you're seeing there. We have lost Satzelin, though. That is an actual retirement. Ricky Berry and Sauvignon have retired.
Yeah, we've lost 4 cars.
Oh, and Grim Lilith, in fact, as well.
I think that was perhaps lap 1. I remember we saw a backwards Mustang out of nowhere.
And Grim Lilith qualified 3rd place, I'm pretty sure, as well.
I think so. Fastest Hands of the West, seeming to have the shortest race of the day. Could be, but tends to be. It always happens. My mind, Jesse Lee, when the fun stops, so do you. I've stolen that quote directly from RCI regular and regular good guy Callum Kerrigan. I like that. I agree with it. At the end of the day, we're here for a good time. And, you know, you're fighting for bragging rights. You're racing with your friends. But if you're like, you know, that's it for me, it's all good. No shame in that. After all, these cars aren't being paid for to the amount that they would be in real life. So it's okay to park up. You're not wasting anybody's money. You're not wasting anybody's time. So never a shame with that. Jesse Lee, I think it's going to be that time of day where we take our short mid-race endurance break. And I know it is on me to decide whom we go on board with. And I'm really going to put our good buddy Ted Edwards under the gun here in the fastest freedom machine yet seen on a Le Mans racetrack. Of course, the Cadillac V Series R. So ladies and gentlemen, go get up, stretch your legs, have a bit of relaxation with you, and we'll be back in just a few moments. So, you know, go refill your popcorn bowl, grab a beverage. We're probably going to do a little bit of the same. So we will be right back with you in a few minutes.
Final 45 minutes in the 312 miles of Le Mans here on RCI TV. Glad to have all of you with us. We hope that you took that opportunity to get up, stretch, get a beverage, walk around a little bit, and settle back in for the final 40 or so minutes of this race. Pit stops for the hypercars incoming right now, as it turns out. Third place, Ursu in the pit lane. For this may be the final stop for the hypercars here today. Billy Octane follows the third place driver in, and right before we came back, Zeno Van Drisha had a bit of a moment, it looked like, chucking the car off the road. Unknown if they made contact with anything. Let's see what happened to Zeno down the into Mulsanne corner. As it turns out, everything looks normal here, and locks it up and spins it around, but they don't hit anything. So a little bit more than a small moment, but not nearly as bad as it could have been, Jack.
Yeah, taking that cone out as he goes. But yeah, pit stops have engaged. I did actually go and chat with a couple of drivers while we were away, curious what everything was looking like. And as it turns out, it will be one more stop, at least for the hypercars. It'll be about a splash and dash for the group, though a couple of them might be looking like they can make it. The likes of, I think, Ted Edwards, Leopold Sterninger, and I believe Mr. Jordan Daly might all be able to remove that final stop. And if they do, that could be a huge swing. I mean, it's 45 seconds now for Daly to fourth place or higher, and that could be mostly erased if that pit stop doesn't end up happening. So we'll see if that's the case in LMGT3 as well, but it is just fully business as usual. They've all done the stops already. They all have a feel for the cars they have underneath them. The sun is sort of starting to set. The sky is starting to get a little bit pretty. I mean, they're settling in for the most part, their final stint, Jesse, and
Yep.
I mean, I'm hoping for no big surprises, but also in the same vein, maybe a big surprise could be fun.
Could be fun indeed. Just keeping up with some of the chat messages. I didn't quite catch it before we went to break, but three-time Night Out champion Harry Conway, I may have mentioned that a few times, says Jesse's the cook. He is the wizard, and trust me, Harry Conway is a magician, that's for sure. Mike Redford chimed in with the synopsis of his car. He says, car actually feels nice when A, it's working, and B, the tires are not flat. Yeah, the car is better with round tires instead of square ones, Mike Redford. I can assure you of that. Interclass congestion exiting the pit road. Kaladian gets away cleanly in front of the LMP2. Could have been a close moment there. Jack pointed out earlier, there is collision in the pit lane, and some of you at home are probably thinking, well, yeah, of course there are. The cars are solid objects. A lot of sims actually ghost you in pit lane, meaning you can drive through each other. LMU is not one of those sims. It is true to life. So they had to sort that out quite sharpish, and did, and now they sort it out on the racetrack on the outlap. Mrs. Krexke just said, how can you be driving and have such a good sense of humor? I think that's just Mike Redford. Number one. Two, he's British. And number three, everything he said was true. Sometimes the humor is the reality. And yeah, a car is better when it's not broken and all the tires are round instead of square. Never liked a square tired car, Jack. At LMU, you really feel it when you flat spot.
Absolutely. The amount of vibrations that you will feel in your steering wheel is, I mean, it can almost hamper your ability to drive. Granted, driving with a flat spot is sort of an issue, especially if it's on your, well, on any of your tires, especially if it's on your fronts. If there's a big flat spot, you will be more likely to catch that under braking, which will make the tire worse, which just creates this catastrophic effect. But even if it's a minor sort of rub on that tire, you could get a major vibration that you're going to feel the whole time until those tires come off of the car. Maybe possibly if you run it long enough where the wear on the tire is such that the flat spot is just where the tire is now. But it can be bit of a pain. It can be a bit frustrating, but it's just one of those things that I think it adds to the race. It adds to the sim. You know, it's one thing to think of, or one more thing to think of once everything is gone through. Pits are all happening. Just about everybody has completed their second stop, Jesse, and we were sort of mentioning that this could be the last. I think Jordan Daly has the best chance of anybody in this hypercar field of making it on that two-stop strategy. I think everybody's going to be back in. The circuit is very long. It is very, very high speed, as I'm sure all of you have become innately familiar with watching the stream this evening. If you were unfamiliar with Le Mans, not very long stints. Fuel doesn't get you as far when the circuit is however many miles and you are doing many, many miles an hour most of the lap.
So Bernier in chat, adding to the tire conversation, says, if you think about it, tire being square around is a matter of perspective, isn't it?
No?
Yeah, tell that to my hands whenever I have flat spotted tires. There's only one perspective on that one, for certain, but a very philosophical retort from Seb Bernier. Seb, we're in your home country for this one, you know, and this all ties back into the 250th anniversary of America. Who supported us when we gained, or were trying to gain, our independence from England? The French. Who helped us celebrate the centennial of our nation? The French. Who continue to support us in our freedom and democratic efforts? The French. Cheers to you.
And nobody else.
Well, there's some other people
There
in
are
there.
there
but,
are
I
some
mean,
other people.
You know, nobody, only one country gave us a big, beautiful woman to put in the harbor, the greatest harbor. All right,
That's true.
That was again the French, and we are also very sorry that it sat in a back alley for like, what was it, 30 years or something? It's
never actually got put together. Yeah, it got sent over. It never actually really was fully constructed. I feel like that is I don't know how many. I think it's about 30 years. It's long enough that
it was a while.
Yeah, it's maybe a bit rude, but it's there now. Everybody loves it. It's the Statue of Liberty, of course, and you know, it's one of the many wonderful monuments.
I learned in
just
college,
like the Eiffel
Jack,
Tower in Las Vegas.
You know, there's several of those things around the world. I mean, there's a lattice towers were a thing for a while, but I mean, there's a lot of replicas that exist today of the Eiffel Tower in places. A lot of places where there are casinos as well. I was going to make one more comment, because it is Freedom Day after all, about the Statue of Liberty, of which we are speaking of. Obviously, originally it was copper, and copper sort of corrodes into this green color. We fought it for a while before giving up and just allowing it to be green. Did you know that the French actually gave other countries their own statues of a similar type to celebrate their democracy as well? So America was not unique in that fact. Apparently,
I did not know that.
France gave other people statues.
Fun fact. France is pretty cool, I think. So yeah, hats off to France.
It's got a good racetrack, yep, for sure.
Very good, very storied. Two brain cells in this box.
And you have both of them. You know, America wouldn't be America without France's help, and we salute them in the same way that they salute us. Who would have known 250 years later, all of us, regardless of how we felt at the time, we are all friends. And that's why we all invite you to celebrate with us. 250 years, pretty young as far as nations are concerned, but democracy and all of that, actually one of the oldest still standing in its original form. in the world. So country age, not quite there in comparison to a lot of the European countries, but as far as standing government, actually is one of the oldest.
True, and it's great. I'm a fan. I enjoy it. A little bit of hypercar action here. I think that one of two things happened here. Either Francesco Mazza had a very short pit stop, maybe he didn't take tires, or Billy Octane may have made a bit of a mistake, because these two weren't next to each other a few moments ago, and it's been a few laps since they've been out of the pit lane, in fact, so maybe one made a mistake that found themselves into another. Not really curious as to, not really that pressed with how it happened. I'm sort of glad that it did. I don't think we've really seen BMW v BMW hypercars here tonight. We've talked about how they're the quick ones of the bunch, and well, what does it look like when two equal machinery end up fighting each other? Actually, excuse me, when I say equal machinery, Jesse Lee, have you noticed something special about specifically Billy Octane's BMW versus the one that currently leads him? Something of the schnoz variety, maybe?
I can't, if you're talking about the livery, I can't quite make it out. Obviously a custom livery, a very striking custom livery on Billy Octane's BMW, but I haven't noticed specifically anything on the front of that car going so quick as they are. Are you about to tell me something about that car?
Perhaps. So the BMW that Francesco Mazza is driving is the M Hybrid Joker. It's the M Hybrid Joker, which is the Evo version that came out this year, and Billy Octane is driving the previous generation, what was known as the Big Sniffer, the BMW, because it is...
Can you say that on television?
I did, and I will continue, because look at that honking nose.
That is... Oh my goodness. I had to see them both to determine, and oh no, calamity here for the 6th place car. Well, they're down to 6th place now is George. They were running P2 in the hypercar class. Benjamin George has slammed it into the wall and has lost a right rear tire. Let's see how it happened.
Is it the same place we've gotten used to seeing in Indianapolis, the penultimate bend? Oh, it's a little bit early, actually. The BMW goes round, and that's a huge hit.
Oh, man.
Into the wall, and I think I heard that engine revving. I think he's trying to get it moving. You could just about hear it. It's inching forward, but I think that is going to be race over for the driver who ran in P2 almost the entirety of this race. One moment, a little bit of 4 wide down the Mulsanne straight as we get back. One moment can decide your fate, and that moment right there decided that Billy Octane was going to retake what is now a podium position over Francesco Mazza. Multi-class giveth Jesse Lee, and multi-class taketh away.
It really does. We talk about that all the time in other series, and it's still true here at Le Mans, even at a track that has so much straightaway space and real estate. It still is a thing. Billy Octane in the Big Schnoz, is that what you call it? The Big Schnoz BMW.
The Big Sniffer.
Taking over P3 in the race, and confirmed by the 3-time Night Owl champion Harry Conway. Billy took more fuel. I reckon Billy Octane is going to make it home with 2 stops here this evening. There was a slight tongue-in-cheek debate on trusting the French or not in the chat. I mean, they got good circuit design. Oh no! A crash here and a subsequent crash. Ted Edwards involving one of the Aston Martins as he tries to go through. There's a dip in the terrain and it's impossible to see. I suspect Ted Edwards went for a spin and the Aston hit the stranded Cadillac there.
I think that's exactly what happened. That's turn number 4, just when you come after the Dunlop Bridge, which is now the Goodyear Bridge, at Le Mans. It's just a little bit of a loss for Ted Edwards. He did mention when I did speak to him, he said he has suspension damage, and I suppose now maybe a little bit more because he's going to go straight on instead of taking the chicane as normal. So that car a little bit out of sorts for Ted Edwards, and Milan van der Vecken, I think a little bit of a similar scenario between the two. Not fighting for position, but sharing the same piece of road. And these things happen. That's a tricky part of the racetrack to lose it and still be there because it's almost blind when you're coming up that crest into Tete Rouge. But I mean, I have to say, well managed. Milan van der Vecken, you saw it. He nailed that perfect 360. I'm hearing the Tony Hawk trick noise in my head right now when I was seeing him do it. But nothing's getting easier for Milan. Tricky start to the race, tricky continuation for him now, and he's still a lap down and currently running 11th in class.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse for Milan van der Vecken, to be honest. Kind of got away with one there just a little bit. Klaus Nyring has had an incident out of P2, looped it in exiting the Ford chicane. Actually, no, it's not the Ford chicane. That's Dunlop chicane is where they've looped it there. Easy to do that. I'm surprised we've not seen more of that today, quite frankly. With the elevation change, it's quite easy to get crossed up. But I think just a spin, nothing else. And that will further help Adam Krexke, who really doesn't need any help, has just dominated the day in LMP2. It's looking like a complete race for Adam Krexke as they continue to pile on. It's a minute and a half. Just go ahead and call it half a lap. At a normal racetrack, half a lap isn't that big of a deal. Half a lap here is, well, a full lap at any other racetrack, sans the Nürburgring, of course. Imo Bata trying to make a move on Reisenhauer for fourth place. He's got it. He's there. He has the best position, being crowded by Reisenhauer, and loses out ultimately after the fight. But Imo Plata up to P4.
A tidy move, and I gotta say, Emo it's one of those drivers. Granted, we see him a lot here at RCI. He's become one of the mainstays, and that seems to be his style. It's like kind of a quiet race, maybe not the best qualifying position, but he just seems to be able to chip away, and that's what he's been doing tonight. He was running as low as, I think, 7th or 8th position. He's now fighting for 4th, though Marvin Reisenhauer is maybe saying, well, you're not going to get that one so easy. Into the second chicane, though, hanging on really well. A moment just a few moments ago for Ted Edwards. Again, he was yellow flagged for a little while, and he knows if he's watching this back, he knows what I'm doing. I'm doing a Ted Edwards and showing Ted Edwards's moment here, coming into the beginning of the Porsche curves, and round it goes, and into the wall, and somehow everything is attached on the back of that car, Jesse. We've seen bigger hits than that take off more, but Ted Edwards, that explains why he was yellowed for so long, and that's going to be a limp back to pit lane for the Cadillac. I think he's going to have to do a repair there, though I think he is actually still circulating the racetrack.
Yeah, compounding issue there, you'd have to imagine, losing it in the Porsche curves, and surprisingly, I think we're both surprised that it hit the tire pack at that speed backwards and kept its rear wing and the tires. So lucky for that one, at least, that they're able to drive that back mostly under steam to the attention of the team, but could have been a particularly scary moment. Meanwhile, this battle continuing. Plata finds themselves behind Reisenhauer again, getting it done while we're looking at the Ted incident somewhere down in Indianapolis. Reisenhauer has retaken P4 in the Corvette somehow.
He has done it. They're entering the Porsche curves now, and on the brakes, it seemed that Emo had the better, but it's really not an overtaking opportunity through this sector. There's sort of only one line you end up taking.
They're making their way through. It's all about the exit as we get towards the final 2 chicanes on this circuit. Here comes one of the BMW hypercars. I believe that was Jordan Daly driving by him with ease, and not a whole lot between them. But it seems that maybe this is what we were talking about with the Porsche and BMW hypercars, Jesse. Maybe the 296 Ferrari LMG T3's got the legs on the straight, but the Corvette CHR has it in the twisties, because through that sector alone,
you'd
think it'd be the
based
opposite.
on the stereotypes of our two nations,
Right?
that it would be the opposite way round. But for whatever reason, a lot of people say that the Corvette looks a little too close to a Ferrari as far as looks are concerned, and that Corvette may have been copying off of Ferrari's test, but they are two very different beasts, these two cars, even though they're very close on the racetrack right now. Plata sizing up Reisenhower for the second time. Part 2, Groundhog Day. Going to try and do the exact same thing again in the slipstream. The straight line speed, absolutely with the Ferrari. Untucks and goes for the overtake the long way. Exactly what Plata did last time, and is able to achieve the same result into the first chicane down the Mulsanne. Excellently demonstrated 2 laps in a row by Emma Plata.
A little bit of a twitch coming out of that corner for Marvin Reisenhower, but naturally Slipstream's gone the other way, and it seems like the Corvette now is the one in the hunt. You can see bottom middle of your screen, that is the gap between the cars closing to almost nothing. Steps out does Marvin Reisenhower, and into the braking zone for the second chicane. It's going to be Emil Plata on the outside. He doesn't actually brake nearly as hard as you're expecting, maybe giving that one up without a fight, realizing that a better opportunity may arise soon. It's one of those tracks where you have to be so sure of when you're doing your move, not because it's difficult, but because, say you do it in the first chicane, in the Daytona chicane like Emil Plata did, well, you're given the slipstream all the way back down into the second one, so Emo may be waiting now, thinking about maybe Indianapolis. Best chance to get it and stick it out of Mulsanne corner, about even. Long run down, Jesse Lee. So it's, closing moments, final 20 minutes. Still, the fight goes on for 4th position. Though Yupton Clay leads in Hypercar, Adam Krekske in LMP2, and Carlos Caladiud. Nobody is thinking about spoiling any of our pole sitters' day, but of course, one possibly final stop for a couple of drivers, though I think just about everybody's going to make it.
Yeah, some of the early pitters, they're going to be quite close according to my math. Others are going to be just fine. I worry about Mazza. I know Richter in 8th place in LMGT3 is going to have to pit, and maybe Makaniko and Rapsathong as well might have to pit. I think pretty much everybody else will be able to make it to the end of the race on their current energy. But like I said, some of those early pitters are going to find it quite difficult indeed. While we have a minute, of course, talking a lot about America, freedom, etc. and so forth. By the way, for anyone out there listening who is tired of us droning on, we're having a little bit of fun. We're having a laugh, if you haven't noticed here today. But there is something interesting that the 3-time Night Owl champion, Harry Conway, has brought up. And I'm curious, Jack, if you know this story. Harry's brought up that America owns London Bridge. Do you know that story?
I can't say that I do, Jesse Lee.
So, first of all, Harry, you're right, but we did technically purchase it from you. Do you know the original London Bridge is actually in America?
I actually did not know that at all. I knew that the London Bridge, what he's referred to, the London Bridge, is actually Tower Bridge in London. I did know that, but I didn't know that.
So you guys can look this up if you want to see some of the weirdest real life lore. There was a guy, I forgot his name. He wanted to build this town in the middle of the desert somewhere in Arizona/Nevada, and he was eccentric, as you might imagine, and I don't know if London was looking to replace the London Bridge or what, but they were going to disassemble it, and this American bought the bridge, the materials it was made out of. London Bridge was then disassembled stone by stone, transported to the middle of the desert and rebuilt. And just as I say that, a spin for Reisenhower, and that will end the fight for P4, at least for the time being. Plata goes back through. Reisenhower oversteps, and it cost them dearly.
Couldn't hang with the pressure, I think. It's lap after lap after lap, making no mistakes. You got a really fast race car in your mirrors, and going a bit wrong there for Reisenhower, going a bit right for Emo Plata, though. 16 more minutes to hunt it down. The gap now about 5 seconds between the two, so never say never, Jesse Lee, but I am enjoying the RCI history lesson here with you, so please do continue.
I think Mike Redford knows what I'm talking about. He's recommended a video. I don't know who Jay Foreman is, but he's recommending a video about it. So Mike Redford knows what I'm on about. But yeah, so an American guy wanted to build this town. I don't know if it was a resort town or it was just like he just wanted to create his own town, as you can do in America with all the space. And he bought the London Bridge and they disassembled it. It was made of stone, as you might expect, and transported it all the way to the desert in America and had it rebuilt stone for stone. So the original, not a replica, not made up, stone for stone, the original London Bridge still exists, just in the desert of America for absolutely no reason at all, except that one eccentric man wanted it. So not only do we have a statue of Lady Liberty from France, we have the original London Bridge. I wonder what other random artifacts from history America has. We've got a couple of fake pyramids, but I don't think that counts, honestly. We've got one of the weirdest things I tell Europeans is we have a pyramid in Memphis, Tennessee.
It's true.
And I think that's really confusing for people to hear that. Like, why? Yeah, it's made of glass as well.
Yep. The Bass Pro Shops pyramid, as it were. Yeah, why America? Because we can. That's why.
I learned a few years ago that it wasn't originally owned by Bass Pro Shop. Bass Pro Shop saved that building after it was unoccupied for a long time. I thought that Bass Pro Shops built that as like a thing, but it was owned by somebody else, and then Bass Pro Shops turned it into like a mega store, a hotel even, and restaurant. It's like a whole thing in Memphis, Tennessee. Everyone's getting an America lore drop tonight is what's happening.
No proper time for it.
Yeah. Final moments, last 14 minutes here of the 312 miles of Le Mans, also known as the 500 kilometers, but we don't know what those are on the 4th of July. Jupton Clay has led every step of the way, 40 seconds the gap back to Urso in P2. Billy Octane has driven from outside of the top 5 into 3rd place. Looks pretty good right now. Massa in 4th, Van Drescher the top 5 daily, LeBrun in 7th place, and Soneger in 8th. This is Adam Krexke, who got the pole position in LMP2, lost the lead initially, fought for it back, and has never really looked back. A huge gap to everybody else. Just a commanding drive from Adam Krexke over Klaus Nyring, Mike Redford, the 3 surviving LMP2 cars. Carlos Caladiad has led every step of the way in LMGT3. Rufo settled in P2 with Waninger in 3rd. Emma Plata, Reisenhower up to 5th, or down to 5th, I should probably say. Actually, no, they're back up to 5th because they were in 6th. Mechanico down to 6th place. Rapsathong and Richter, the top 8 in the category. Three-time Night Out champion has chimed in to say that Bass Pro Shops actually built the original pyramids in Egypt. Hey, while we're talking about fun facts, I'll do an Egypt fact. Did you know that when Cleopatra ruled Egypt, even she thought the pyramids were ancient? Because they were. That's how long the Egyptian Empire lasted.
I did know that fun fact, Jesse, and you
Yeah,
were whom
ancient-
I learned that fun fact from.
Ancient. Stick with me for more dad facts.
It's a good fact.
Yeah, it's weird to think about that, isn't it? Though that Cleopatra was the last like pharaoh. I use air quotes of Egypt, right? And she would have looked at the pyramids as if they were from antiquity.
Yep.
Very interesting. Just goes to show you how long some civilizations and empires last.
Hey, but age isn't everything. 250 years is a long time. Just saying. Especially if it's
not in
freedom.
comparison. Yeah, okay. You know what? Point well taken. Final 11 minutes here at Le Mans. The light fading, the headlights on the cars becoming required rather than optional here as daylight fades into twilight. The final moments, a couple of cars we know probably can't make it the full distance without having an additional stop. The vast majority, we believe, have done the math and will be just about perfect.
Yeah, I thought it'd
That's
be a
another
little bit
good
closer.
fact.
But,
Yeah,
everybody's doing
that's
good
another
few
good fact. Billy, not Billy Octane. I was looking at Billy Octane. That's another good fact that Harry Conway's brought up. That Cleopatra was born closer to the moon landings than the pyramids being built.
Very
That
true.
is very. That's an insane thought.
Unbelievable. Super strange.
Yeah.
It almost doesn't seem like it makes sense. Like, that's one of those facts that you'd hear somebody say at a party and you're just like, yeah, you're just completely lying. You're just making stuff up. That doesn't even, there's no way. No, it's absolutely true.
I have another America fact I like is that America was actually settled by European settlers during the Middle Ages still.
Oh no.
By a few years.
Jesse Lee.
Oh no.
Adam Krexke.
Oh my.
I think he's missing a wheel as well. He's found himself in the wall at Porsche Curves in the final few moments of the race, and he had an enormous lead, but I'm afraid that lead's going to disappear. I think it's going to be a similar incident to the one we saw from Ted Edwards a few moments ago. A huge loss and a huge snap into the wall, into the corner. There's that Goodyear tire popping off, and there's that rear wing going. So he's going to have to limp back to pit lane. Is Adam Krexke. Not many a sadder sight to see than the one that's on our screens. I feel like the only hope maybe is that Nyring and Redford also might have to take a splash for fuel. Maybe Krexke could still have this in hand because he's going to be stationary for a while, saying to heck with the pit entry. I'm going to do this the quickest way I can. My car is so wounded, but he's made it back to pits. Now begins the long wait for that car to be back with four wheels and a full rear wing.
Adam Krexke, who has led the majority of this race, by far the most dominant driver in the race, has had it all come undone in the Porsche Curves from the lead. Now, they'll have some mandatory repairs. That'll last a couple of minutes, but they can defer the optional repairs and get back out there and try to maybe salvage something. But here is Klaus Nyring, a driver who's had a pretty calm race just until now when a GT car span in front of them. Oh my goodness, what a scary moment for Klaus Nyring, who looks to be coming through to take the lead in their class. We'll see the gap coming down. We'll know that something has happened to the leader. And here he comes in the number 22, but really the 24, Orica, to take the lead in LMP too, and couldn't have done it in a more scary moment there with that GT car looping it in front of him.
It could have been double race over. It could have been more good news for the Redford
Can you
camp.
imagine?
If I could be so bold. I genuinely couldn't. But it all coming undone. That clock is ticking backwards 20 seconds now. A gap that, even with Krexke's speed, is now insurmountable. The question could be, will it be Redford getting P2 now? Another GT3 in the similar livery pattern in a similar part of the racetrack. Actually, sorry. Yet again, we both did that same thing where we thought the Porsche curves were the Goodyear Bridge. But another loop-de-loop in a place where we haven't seen many, but we're starting to see them now. It's that time of the race, the final few moments, Jesse, where it's all, it all can come undone. You've done over 2 hours of racing. You're getting a little bit fatigued. And one misstep. That's all it is on this racetrack. It's so fast that one mistake could be the end of your race, or at least the end of, in the Krexke camp, the end of his lead of this race.
Everybody now starting to lose a little bit of focus. Jordan Daly off and on the course. You said it, partner. Everybody a little bit fatigued. The tires are the worst they've been. The light level has changed, and that's changed all of your sight lines and all of your braking points, and it's just all too different now. And this is the most dangerous part of the race. Honestly, the final few minutes, you lose sight of everything that's important. Bree in chat has said that Mike Redford's going to win this race in LMP2 at this rate. If Klaus Nyring were to have an unfortunate incident, we know who to blame, and it's not Jack or myself for the first time in many a year. Adam Krexke still sitting in the pit lane. Massive repairs. It was going to be the better part of a full lap around here for just the mandatory repairs, let alone the optional repairs. The only silver lining for Krexke was that it happened in the Porsche curves, but there you go. The car repaired enough to go back out and salvage some of this race. Oh, I can't imagine what that young man is thinking right now.
It's a lesson to be learned. It's a mistake that every single person on this racetrack could make. It's a mistake that multiple others have made already tonight, and this being the time to do it. Granted, if you did that at any point in the race, it could have been the same sort of situation, but the unfortunate thing being in the final few minutes, it's not something you can come back from. It's not something you can fight against. It's all about taking that car around and doing the final few laps, because that's all it is now. We're getting into the final 2 laps of this race, I do believe. And as the clock is ticking down, I want to take a moment to thank some of the wonderful folks that are partnered with us here at RCI and help us do what we do here. Coach Dave Delta being one of them. If you want to climb up the sim racing ladder, there's no better place to go. They have you sorted with setups. They have you sorted with helpful apps, and also coaching is available if you're really trying to get those lap times down, get yourself up into quicker times. Green Man Gaming, their summer sale is currently live. They are a marketplace for PC games. Tons of deals all the time, greater than some of those you can find on hosted platforms, and saving money is the goal. They're the place to be. I would reckon Moser Racing, high quality direct drive hardware that doesn't break the bank, not just for sim racing, but also for trucking and now flight sim gear. They release new products multiple times. It seems like monthly at this point. And as a Moza user and enjoyer, always good to check out their marketplace for good new stuff. Final thank you to Motorsport UK for having us as a recommended sim racing community. And I'll brevi that into thank you to all the drivers as well. We usually thank them at the end of the race. I'm going to elect to do it now because they're all wonderful. And thank you to all of you for joining us on the first sort of full LMU endurance race We anticipate that this might become more of a feature once driver swaps come to the sim. So a little test run for a lot of these drivers, though. Hopefully they don't have to do 2 hours and 10 minutes every time they come to a track. So it will be absolutely grand once that gets underway, Jesse Lee. And this has been an absolutely grand event. Upton Clay, from the lead of the race, has now started the final lap of this 310, aka 500 kilometers, whatever those are, of Le Mans.
Hey, I just want to thank everybody watching at home. Thanks for playing along with us, and we appreciate all of you in chat being with us. Adam Kreske continues his day, goes from a dream to a nightmare, and continues to be that, as they have had a couple of incidents in Sector 3 as they come through. But no, seriously, thanks everyone for playing along, and I hope that you had fun with us here today. And we hope that this is a more permanent thing, like Jack said, with the advent, whenever that may be, of driver changes. But I will say it was a solid test run of an endurance race here in RCI in LMU. No hiccups that we could discern from our commentary position. Everything seems to work and to have been holding steady the entire time. And that extends, of course, past when we started the broadcast as well. So all things looking good. And we hope to bring more of these endurance races with you and to you in the future of the fight here for this position. Oh, a couple of bumps there between Mako and Reisenhauer, flashing of the lights. Might that be almost an apology flash between the two of them?
I think it's a, hey, you cut the circuit, give me my position back, here's the return,
right.
send. And they're just at this point having it out with each other on this final lap, because you know, the Corvette went off the circuit, cut it, and then sort of stopped to get to remove a possible penalty, but stopped directly in front of the Lamborghini, leaving them nowhere to go. And of course, Miroslav Pachenko, not really happy with that, drove into the back of him twice, most likely on accident, and they're really having it out at this point. But I think it will be Upton Clay coming through in a few moments' time to take victory. It's not for a championship. It is for honors, though, in RCI. Upton Clay in the BMW. A few more corners to go. Led it from lap 1. Held on to it all the way through the race. Strategy was on their side. Luck was on their side. But most importantly, had the pace to win the race. Little bit of drifting celebration, because Upton Clay is going to come across the line to take victory at the 500 kilometers of Le Mans. Klaus Nyring, still a full lap to do. Jesse Lee, I was wondering where he is. Adam Kreske is going to come across the line next, though, and the drivers will start to trickle across the line. But here is our victor in GT3.
Carlos Kaladian led the entire way and gets the win tonight. The inaugural win for an endurance LMU race here. Just sort of came back to sim racing, did Carlos Kaladian, after an extended absence. And how sweet it is, celebrating another win. Hopefully he remembers his way to victory lane. Renato Rufio gave a really good chase, you have to say. Kept him earnest all day. Will be credited with P2. Ursu in P2 in the hypercar class across the line. Andre, a well-deserved P2, you have to say. And Billy Octane worked for it. Had to come from just about outside the top 5 and converts. Great strategy, but also excellent pace into the final podium spot. Mazza and Zeno Vandrisha complete the top 5 across the line. Mike Redford, P2. Who would have called that after the qualifying and the start? Was 8th place in LMP2, but ends up P2. Just a brilliant day for a bored driver, self-professed bored, and gets a P2. Excellent stuff. Wainiger has come across the line in the Lexus for P3 in LMGT3. Imo Plata fourth, and Makaniko will eventually come to the line to finish fifth, possibly ahead of Reisenhauer
Yeah, I think
in LMGT3.
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit of love lost between the two, though. I have to say, I've just looked at the timing screen, and I think, well, no, I think we'll just about make it. I saw 1% VE. It might be a little lift across the line, and there might actually be a little bit of last-second struggle between the two, but I think that Lamborghini's going what you could call at race pace, is going to have just enough fuel to come across the line.
Go to zero, we're fine.
Yep, we're good. We're good.
Oh, he's good. He's still got a bar.
Did.
He's still got a bar.
He got across the line for 5th and 6th place.
0.9% virtual energy still counts for having some in the tank. You don't need 1%. You just need a number higher than absolute zero. And he gets it done. Klaus Neiring, after doing essentially a victory lap, ran second, ran third throughout the day, is going to end up winning the race in LMP2 and by default winning the race of attrition. Klaus Neiring wins it in LMP2 in what can only be described as an upset and a shocking turn of events in the final 10 minutes. Another Le Mans classic.
Absolute classic indeed. What an interesting race. I think a lot of drivers learned a lot of things tonight. I think we learned a fair few number as well. Had an absolute ball of a time, and congrats to everybody who made it to the end. It definitely wasn't an easy race. Wasn't a slam dunk of just like, all right, we just drive the thing and it goes across the line for us. No, 2 hours and 10 minutes is nothing to scoff at for a single driver to do. 3 classes, 1 track. We started with about 38 cars. We've ended with only 24. The attrition was here. The fighting, the pass repass was here. Everything that could be asked for from a Le Mans race, Jesse Lee, I think we earned here today.
Yeah, I think you're right, partner. It was a spectacular race. Qualifying ended up being very important for everyone out there today. We wouldn't have really called that from a Le Mans race. Saw some excellent racing for podium positions throughout the race and a little bit of drama at the end. Results of the race confirmed. Jupton Clay wins it over Andre Urso, and Billy Octane completes the podium in the hypercar class. Francisco Manza in 4th, Zeno Vandrisha 5th, Jordan Daly, Leprin, Streniger, Barber, and Ted Edwards, the top 10 in the hypercar class. Outside of that, Vander Voken, George, Kalitz, Colombo, Leon Smits, Vaselli, and Mila. Some of those cars didn't actually take part here today by my math. Klaus Neiring wins the war of attrition in LMP2 over Mike Redford. Adam Krexke finishes 3rd. Those are our only 3 finishers in the class. Gil, Yo, Eric, Mindrew, Huel, and the rest DNF'd in that tough race class. LMGT3 led the entire way by Klaus Neiring's number 30 Porsche. Gets the win tonight over Renato Rufio. Caleb Waniger in 3rd. Fought for that position all day on the Lexus. Gets it in the end. Imo Plata wins the war for 4th. Matt Kinko wins 5th place with less than a percentage of virtual energy over Marvin Reisenhauer. Rabbit's Thong in 7th. Lang, Richter, and I think most of those cars had a rough day for sure. Several DNFs, but not Inyan. Din did finish this race in that Aston. Wow. What a race it was. I think I didn't expect that twist inside the final 10 minutes of the race, but we got there anyway. We should always expect a twist at the end of Le Mans. It is Le Mans. after all. I think, honestly, partner, the race lived up to its name and its pedigree here tonight. I think a lot of drivers learned a lot of valuable data for next time. And of course, a bunch of fantastic racing and deserving winners is what I always want to see. And I think certainly we saw that tonight. Thought we'd see a lot of 3-stop strategies. Everyone converted it into a 2-stop, if only just here tonight.
Absolutely. Such a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant race. I mean, I don't think I can sort of they say it enough. It was really fun. I mean, sometimes enduros like that, they can drag on a little bit, but no, we had fights all the way through, drama at the very end. I think I said it with about an hour to go. I said, well, I hope we don't get any drama, but it could be pretty entertaining. We did get it. It was disappointing for some, but it was very entertaining for us in our box. An absolute fiesta, a party. You know, could it be for July 4th? Maybe you're all partying in the YouTube chat, but so many fun viewers hanging around with us. So thank you to all of you. Thank you to all of our wonderful, wonderful drivers. I will say one thing. I thought about talking about it tonight, but honestly, we had so much going on that we didn't end up doing it. Ladies and gentlemen, LMU drivers, 5 p.m. UTC tonight will be an announcement for the ages. If you thought that you got enough Murica tonight, you're dead wrong, because incoming, the word on the street is a bunch of IMSA circuits are coming to LMU, and that will all be announced this evening. We will surely be talking about that in future broadcasts, Jesse, but I think that's a good note to end on. I mean, I've got my timer set at an hour and 40 minutes, I think, till the announcement. So I'm ready to go. And I think we, sir, are ready to put a cap on this thing.
Yeah, of course, a big thank you to the drivers, to everyone behind the scenes at RCI that make this possible, and you, Jack, specifically for doing double duty. It's not easy to be the man broadcasting and pushing all the buttons and also commentate. Did an excellent job for 2+ hours of broadcasting. It's just a brilliant job. And a big thank you again to all of our partners. You can find them in the description. Clicking those links helps us, help those that help RCI host more races like this one here today. And a final shout out to everyone in chat. Kept the chat moving all day long. We invite you to like, subscribe, follow over on Twitch, hit the bell for more racing. We'll be live again on Monday for the ACC Mini British GT finale. Later on in the week, Thursday, LMP2s here on LMU. And we would love to have you there. And of course, there is another endurance race on the horizon, this time in ACC, the 3 hours of Nürburgring at the end of the month on the 25th of July. There are spots available. Pick your car of choice in your class of choice and join us on ACC for one potentially final enduro. 3 hours of Nürburgring. Couldn't go out any better way. On behalf of the entire team, the broadcast and otherwise, I've been Jesse Lee, joined by Jack Mays. Thank you for being with us for the 500 kilometers of Le Mans. Happy Independence Day to all those that celebrate. We'll see you next time. Have a good night.
You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Get behind the wheel, let's go. Grip the road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring, steel alive. Live this dream and drive. Tires burning with gasoline. Push the limits, chasing green. One shot, don't slow. Go on, we'll take control. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. control.